So today we're going to be building this chess board, this chess game with React, and I thought it's a really nice project that you can do to improve your skills, and also maybe you can add it to your personal portfolio. I really like the chess game, so I figured it out. It might be really fun to make this work with React. So it has all the features that you would expect from a chess game. It's only for local multiplayer. It does not have a chess engine that you can play against too, but maybe in the future we can add some multiplayer real-time functionality so you can play online. But for now it's only locally, so you can you can drag the pieces and only you can make legal moves. So for example, if you try to move the queen up here, you will not be able. So it has all the features that you would expect from a chess game. So for example, you can castle without any problem. Also, we have like this we're managing when the game is over, so we can detect that and we can display what was the reason. So there's a couple of reasons that the game could be over, like checkmate or a draw. So we can detect that and we can display the result, and then we can start a new game. So another feature is that everything remains in the local storage. So you can keep playing even if you close the browser, and you can see that the board turns around in every move. And another thing is that we are going to implement these features. So when you're going to go to the finish line with a pawn, you are able to promote that pawn. So we have this special state that we can handle, and now we can choose which piece we want to interchange. So as you can see now, we have promoted that pawn. So for start, I created this repository that's going to be in the description, and make sure that you are in the starter branch. So we're going to have another branch, but make sure you are. And this is basically just the create React app without the boilerplate. And we also have the assets for every piece. So for every knight, every king, we have some images. So these are like the assets that we're going to use. So make sure you have that so you can follow the tutorial. And we're not only going to use React, we are also going to use other libraries. So the libraries that we are going to use is this one that's called chess.js, which is really nice. Is like a library that you can represent the chessboard with JavaScript, with arrays, and you can make moves. So it has a bunch of methods that we can do to keep the game in a good state. So this is what we're going to use. It's just vanilla JavaScript. It doesn't has anything else. And also we're going to use React drag and drop. So this is a library that we can use to move the pieces, and you can also learn about that library. It's really nice. And the last thing that we are going to use is Rxjs, which is a library to listen to create observables and listen to them. So it's really handy that we can use this with React, and it allows us to keep track of all the things that are happening. So that's what we're going to use to make it simple. So now let's get started. So I'm currently in the repository that for the startup project, and the first thing we need to do is to install the dependencies. I'm going to use Yarn, but you could also use npm. So it would be npm install if you're using that, and it's going to install everything. I will come back when that's done. So once that's done, we are going to install the other dependencies that we need. We need Rxjs, we need also React, drag and drop, and we also need to provide what they call a backend for this. So it's React drag and drop HTML5 backend, and we need the chess.js library. Now let's start the development server. So we have this start script that we can run. So I'm going to run that, and this should open a new window in our browser. And we don't have nothing yet, so let's keep it like that. It's just a blank screen, and let's start with the project. So first we're going to grab all our application in the drag and drop provider, the drag and from that package. So we need to wrap everything in that provider. I'm currently in the index.js file, and here I'm going to import from React drag and drop. I'm going to import the D&D provider. So this is what we need to wrap everything, and we also need to import the backend that they provide. So we need to import this for React drag and drop HTML5 backend. And here we have this that's called HTML5 backend. Once we have that, we now need to wrap inside here. We need to wrap this or app component into that provider. So I'm just going to copy this here, and we need to wrap our application there, and we need to provide this property, and here we're going to pass this right here. So this is the initial setup for the drag and drop library to the app.js file. So this will be the root component for all application. And first, let's try to draw a board. So we're going to try to draw a basic board. So I'm going to create a new component that's going to be called board.jsx. Well, you can use the JS file extension. I like to have it like JSX, so I can know which files are components. So here I'm going to use a snippet to create a functional component. And before doing that, we first need to represent the board in an array. So for doing that, I'm also going to create this game.js file, and here's where we're going to be keeping track of all the things that we need to make the game work. So first I'm going to import star as chess from chess.js. So we're going to import the chess library, and we need to initialize a new chess game, and we only need to do it like this. So we need to create a new instance of that chess library. So this is how we create a new chess game, and the method that we need is called chess.board. So this will give us an array representation of the board, and each array item will be a row, and inside that row we have like individual pieces. So this is how it works, but we are going to create an observable. So the type of observable that we are going to use, and we are going to use Rxjs for this, is going to be a behavior subject. So if you are not familiar with Rxjs, we have like different types of observables. So observable is basically just a way to create some kind of data that we can subscribe to, so we can listen to the changes that are happening, and we have different types of observable. So the one that we want is this behavior subject, because that observable allows us to listen to, we can have multiple subscribers and we can have a default value, and we are going to call this, and we are going to export this as game subject. So this is going to be the subject, the observable that we are going to listen in all the application, and it's going to be a new behavior subject from the library. And what the default value is going to be, so this is why is going to be an object, and it's going to have a property called board. We are going to add more properties in the future, but for now it's going to be the chessboard that we created. So this is the initial value that we're going to give to this observable, and then we're going to listen to that here. So the way we can listen to observables is when we first need to import that observable, and this is going to come from the from game. So, and what we have here is this of our game subject, and we can do this by using the use effect hook. So we're going to listen to that observable when this component is created, and that's why we're going to use the use effect hook. And we need to pass as dependence an empty array, because it's only going to be executed once when everything is mounted. And we can say cons subscribe. So this, we are going to store the subscriber in a variable, so we can unsubscribe later. And the subscribe is going to be our game subject. And because this is an observable, we have these methods. So the method that we want is the subscribe method. And here we have the observer, which is our game. So every time we change, we add a new stream of data to this observable, this callback will be executed, and that's why we need to do it like this. And now we are going to use the use effect hook, and what we are going to declare here is a board state, and we are going to have a set board state, and the initial and this is not use effect, is use state, and the initial state is going to be an empty array. Remember that I mentioned that this is going to be an array, and what we are going to do is every time we have a new game, we are going to set the board as the game that board, and here we have the property that we defined before. Now we're going to import our board component that we just created, and this is going to be board from board, and here we're going to have that board. Okay. And what we're going to pass to this component is our board state. So we have our board equals board. Now we only need to unsubscribe to this method. So for doing that, we can return, and useEffect accepts a return statement that we can use to unsubscribe. So and it's going to be a function. So the function is going to be subscribe that unsubscribe, and now we are when this component is on mode, we're going to unsubscribe from that method. Okay, now we're going to the board component, and here we are going to have, we are going to structure the property that we are passing. That's the board array. This is an array. And what we are going to do here, we are going to give it a class name to this. It's going to be board. Then we are going to ask to have the CSS for this for now, and we are going to display board that we're going to map to that board array. And here we have every piece, and we also have an item from this. And here we are going to return some JSX for this board function. And for now it's only going to be a div. Then we can have the proper JSX, but for now it's only going to be that. And we need every item here, we need a key, so the key is going to be the index, and we can have it like this. And here we are going to have a paragraph that's only is going to JSON stringify the piece. So we are just going to display this in the DOM to see what's inside this board object. So if we go back here, you can see that here we have every item is an array that has the every piece. So we have the type of the piece. In this case, this is a rook, and it's for the black color. Then we have a knight that's from the black, and this is an array representation of each square in our board. So now we are going to add some style to the board component. So let me go to the app.css file, and first we are going to apply this to everything, and it's going to be that because by default we have we're going to reset the CSS, so we're going to have a padding and a margin of 0. This is going to apply everything, and then we are going to have a board CSS class, and this board CSS class is going to be that we want to have the width of 100 pixels, 100%, sorry, and a height of 100%. Another thing that we want here is we're going to have this flex wrap to wrap. So if it does not have any space, it's going to wrap all the flex items. And of course we need to display this as flex. So nothing really changed that much. And we need to add some other CSS to be able to kind of see like a pseudo board. So let's go to the app.js file, and here I'm going to give this a class of container. It's going to have a container class. This is going to be the global container, and here we're going to have another div that's going to have the class of board container. There we have. Now we need to define those classes. So I'm going to go to this file, and here we are going to add the container class. So this is going to be for all the documents. So we are going to have a min mean height of 100% of the viewpoint. So this is how we make sure that the mean height is 100% of them. We're going to have a display of flex. We're going to align the items to the center, and we're also going to justify the content to the center. And I want to have a background color, background color of is going to be RGB 34. So it's going to be like a black color. So there we have it. So now everything is in the center, but we also need to add a new board container, and this is only going to be for the board container, and we're going to limit the board that has a fixed width of 600 pixels and a height of course going to be a square. So we have a height of 600 pixels. So we now have that. And this is not text justified, this is justified content. Justify content. Never trust your autocompletion. Yep. Okay, now we have this in the center, and now let's represent every square. So we're going back to the, now let's go back to the board, and here every item of the board is going to have the class name of square. So every item here is going to represent, have this class, and the square CSS that we need is going to be, so we're going to force a default width for every item. So let me go back to here, and we are going to add that CSS class that's going to be square, and the width is going to be, we're going to force, so every row has each 8 squares, of course, because in chess we have 8 squares for each row. So if we divide 100 by 8, the width that we need is going to be 12 by 5%. So this is the width that we need. And also the height is going to be the exact same thing, because we want a perfect square. So now we have the square, but it looks it doesn't look correct. So now let's work on that. So every board, we are going to create a new component, and this is going to be a board square for this. So we are going to have a board square.jsx React functional component, and here we are going to start working. So we are going to receive a piece. So every piece that we need here. Actually, we need another component. So this is going to be a square component, and this component will take care to know if this is a white square or a black square. So that's where we're going to create another component for that, and it's not that there yet, but we're going to create it. It's going to be square.jsx, and here I'm going to have a React functional component, and here we are going to render and a square. Okay, so if we are going, and here we are also going to have a component for each piece of the board. So we are going to create also that component, React functional component. We have it there, and let's import that piece from piece, and we are going to pass the piece property to the child. Okay, we have that set up, but there are some null case, as you can see, and we only want to render a piece if there's not null. So we have null there because if we don't have any piece there, this array will have an empty null value. And another thing is here is that we are having, for each row, we are having an array. So we have like a two-dimensional array, and for this we are not going to have this two-dimensional array. This array only needs to have one dimension, and for making that we can use the flat method. So this is an array method that we can use from JavaScript, and what's going to do is only going to make sure that our array is a flat array. And now you can see that we have the correct way of showing only eight pieces per row, because before we have a two-dimensional array, and here are all the null values. So we don't want to show that. And how we can do, we are going to have a Boolean condition here. So we can say if we have the piece, so if the piece is true, it has a non-falsy value, then we are going to use this React handy way of saying, well, it's not React, it's JavaScript way of checking for a Boolean. And then if this is not a falsy value, then we are going to render that piece. So we're making sure that we only return that piece in that case. And in the board, we are not using the board square. So we need to import that component, board square, from board square. And here, instead of showing this stringified version of the piece, we are going to display the board square component, and this board square accepts a piece element, and we can pass this from here. We are passing that to the children, and the piece element is not showing anything, so we're going to the piece component, and we are going to read the piece property, and what we are going to render here is the piece that, did you remember that every item has a type and a color property? So let's see why that is not working. Okay, the reason that what we are not seeing anything is because this square function is not displaying anything. So here we have this children prop is all the children that we can pass here. So this is what we want to display here. So this will be this piece component that we are wrapping in this square component, and now you can see that we have our board. So currently is just a set of letters, but every letter will represent a piece in the board. So now that we have that, now let's make sure that we paint this in some colors, so we have, you know, the different colors for each square. So for that we can do the following. In the board component, we are going to have a black prop. So this is going to tell if the piece is black or no, and we are going to have a isBlack method. So we are going to have the isBlack method, and we are going to pass the index of each array item. And now let's declare that. So we have the isBlack is going to be a function, a regular function that's going to receive an index. And how we can know if this is black or not? So first we're going to calculate, to get the x and y position in the board. So you know, so x will be the x-axis, and the y-axis we will represent every value in the board with a number. So we are going to have another method that's going to say get x and y position, and this also is going to take index as the index of the array item as an argument, and we can say that the x is going to be, and we can do some math tricks here. So it's going to be the index, the module of the index by 8. So we have this module operator that we can use, and this is going to give us the x position depending of the module that we have here. And the y is going to be a little bit more tricky, but it's going to be like this. So we are going to have the ABAs, which is the number without a sign of, and what we are going to have here is the math.floor. So floor is going to take that number and make it an integer, even though it has decimals to the root of the number. And what we are going to do here is just going to have the math floor of the index divided by 8, y by 8, because we have 8 rows in our board. And after that we are going to subtract that from 7. Why 7? Because our array is starting from 0, so we have 8 items, well, but we have 7. The last index is going to be 7, and that's why we need ABS, because this is going to make sure if we have negative here, it's going to be positive after this operation. And once we have the x and y values, we're going to return this as an object. And now we can say the following. We can say the const x and y. So we are deconstructing this from here. It's going to be to get x and y position with the index. So we have the x and y here, and how we can know that this is black or white, we can just return if x plus y, if the module of x plus y divided by 2 equals 1, and that's going to be the way that we know if this square is white or black. So if this returns true, this is going to be black, because it's an odd position. So that's how we can determine that. And now, you know, you can see that we are using that method here, and here we are also going to read that property, and we are going to pass this to the square, not to the piece, to the square, because we also have squares that does not have pieces. So we want to make sure that the square is the one that has the color. So we can pass this property here, and into the square component we're also going to read that here, and we can have this bg class variable that's going to be if black equals true, if this is the square is black, so we're using a ternary operator here. If this is the class that we are going to use, is going to be square black. So we do not have these classes yet, but we're going to create those in a minute. And then if that's not true, we are going to have square white. So now let's go to the app.css file, and we need to define those classes. That's square black, and we are going to have a background, and the background is actually not going to be black, it's going to be like brown, but that doesn't matter. So we can have this is going to be the color that we are going to use. It's like a brown color, and the white is also going to be, let me just copy this, another variation of brown, but this one's going to be this one, F0 D9 B5. Yeah, so we have the colors here, but we need to use them here, so we can have this CSS class name property into this div, and what this is going to be the bg class. And you can see that we have different colors for every square. So another thing that we need to fix here is that we also need to add another class to this component. The class that we need is going to be called board. By the way, this is, we are repeating this twice. This is a square white, and the class that we need is going to be called board square. So because we're adding another div, we need to make sure that this also has the width and the height of 100%. So this is the class that we need, and here I can use this template string operator. So this is going to be a variable, and we are going to concatenate that with the board square that we just created the class. We have this class here, but we also need to provide this class in the board square component, because we also have another div here. So we are going to use the same exact class name, board square, and now we have our board. So you can see that we have every single part of the board with all the pieces, and we have that. Now we need to actually show the pieces, the images of each piece. So let's go to the piece component, and we can do that pretty easy. And the way we can do that is we're going to deconstruct from the piece object. We're going to deconstruct the type of piece and the color. And if we go to this folder that we have in the starter project, you can see that we have, for each piece we have the type of piece and underscore, and then we have the color. So we that's the how we have the names for that. So for knowing which image we need, we can just say const piece image is going to equal, and we're going to again use template strings, and the first variable is going to be the type underscore, so it's going to be depending of the prop that we have, underscore color that png. So that's the image. So that's the path to the image, but we need to require this. So we are going to use require here, and this is going to be the path to that image. And also make sure that you have this path here, so it knows that it's in the assets folder. So we need to add this here, and now we can display that image here. So we can just say that the source is this image, and we no longer need that text, and we also don't need this. And now we have the image in every square, so it looks kind of ugly. So let's fix that. So we are going to add two different classes here. So the first one is going to be for the container of the piece. We are going to have this piece container class, and the second one is going to be for the piece itself. So we can have this piece class. Now let's go to the app.css file, and we can define those classes here. So the classes are going to have, we want to, first we want every time the user hovers that, we're going to change the cursor. So the cursor is going to be this graph cursor, so it's like this hand, so we know that we can move this. The width is again going to be 100% and a height of 100%. We are also going to display this as flex. We're going to align the items and justify the content to the center, so we have everything in the center. That's going to be the container, and the actual piece is going to have a height. So we're going to define a max actually is going to be a max width of 70%. So we don't want to have to occupy everything, so it's going to only be the 70% of the container, and the maximum amount of height is going to be the same one. So now we should see it. We can see that this looks way better. Now we need to actually be able to move this piece. So this is only, we are moving the images, so we are going to move every image, and for doing that we can use the library that we installed. So I'm right now, and the thing that we have two main concepts here. So we need the actual thing that we need to move, and we need a drop zone. So that's two parts. So the thing that we are going to move is of course going to be the piece, and the drop zone is going to be the board square. So where we drop the piece. So we are going to start by the thing that we are going to drag, and for that we are going to import from React drag and drop. We have some hooks that they provide. So is the one that we need is the use drag hook, and we can say the following. So we can say that we are going to declare to like an state hook. We can deconstruct this array, and we can say use drag, and this drag hook accepts a different configuration. So we can start with the item. So this is mandatory, so we need to define what is the item that we are going to be moving. So we need to add this property, and here we need two properties. So the first one is the type, so and this one is mandatory, and this is the type of objects. It's like an identifier that we can use to know where to receive every drag object in the drop zones. So the type that we need, that we can give it any name, is it needs to be a string. So this is going to be of type piece, and it's the only one that we're going to use. We're not going to have any other type. And we can also give it an ID, and this is to identify the exact same item that we are moving. So we can, and this one needs to be a string. So because if we could pass directly this piece here, but that's not recommended. We need to use a string, and the string is going to be, and again this is up to us, it's going to be the type underscore color. So this is a string, and this is going to be the identifier of this item. The next thing is, well, this, let's keep it like that for now. And now this hook returns to several items that we can use. So the first one is a collect element object that we can use. We are not going to use that for now, so I'm just going to add this comma so we can use the second item, and the second item is the drag reference. So this is what we need to attach to the DOM element so it knows what it needs to drag. So we are going to add this ref here that's going to equal this drag reference from the hook. So that's how we can start moving, and you can see that is actually it's moving. Is not like before. It was only the image, but this looks kind of weird. It's like moving the whole square. So we could also move this reference to the image itself. But the problem there is that it's not going to pick up the transparency, so it also looks weird. And what we actually are going to do is we're going to keep the reference into the container, and we are going to use a component, a helper component that this library provides, that's called drag preview image. So this is like a custom image that we can use to the preview when we are grabbing instead of the native behavior that we have. And we can add this here, and here we're going to use a fragment. So a fragment is a way to render like a component, but without rendering anything to the DOM. And this is only because we need to have a root element for React to work. If we add a div, we will have to give it some style, so that's better to use here a fragment. And the third item from the use drag hook is the preview. It's a preview reference, and we can add this to this component, adding this connect property, and here we pass this reference, the preview. So that's how we connect the drag element to the preview. and we need a source. So the source is going to be the same one as the same as we use for the piece itself. So piece emg, and now you can see that now we have this is looking better because we're using the piece itself. And another thing that we can improve here is if we are moving, maybe we don't want to see the other piece in the same place. It looks kind of weird. So maybe we want to not show this. So we can do that by using this collect tool that we have from the hook. And what this is just we need to provide a callback that has this monitor object, and here we need to return an object. So I'm going to return an object that's going to have this is dragging property, and this is going to equals the monitor that is dragging, and we need to use this so we make sure it's a boolean. So this we are returning this property from the collect item, and now we can use that here as the first item into the use drag hook. And here we are just deconstructing that object, and we are accessing directly that here. So this will tell us if this element is being dragged. So it's like an event that's going to be true only when we start moving this. And what we want to do here is that we can say the following. So we can add a style property here, and we can say define our opacity property, and we can say that if the element is actually dragging, where the opacity is going to be 0, otherwise it's going to be 1. So we are reading the is dragging property, and if it's true, it's going to the element is going to disappear. So what's oh, I see, this needs to be a function. We need to invoke this. This is a method. So now we see everything, and now if we start moving, you can see that the moment we start dragging the piece, this is going to disappear. Now we need a way of drop this element. So we are going to take the board squared component, and here we are going to import from React drop and drop. We are going to use the use drop hook, and it works almost the same, but here we also have a collect object. In this case, we really are not going to use that. And here we have a drop reference from the use drop hook, and here we also pass an object with some configuration. And first we need to define what type of item we accept here. So remember that we give it here to the drag of a component, we give it a type of piece. So we can do the same. We can say that we are going to accept that piece. So this is how we know which components we can accept here. And we also have a drop function, and this is going to be executed. This callback will be executed once we drop that piece into the board. So now we need to, again as before, we need to use that reference, the drop reference, and we are going to use that reference here. So we say ref, and this is important, it has to be a DOM element, it cannot be in a component, it has to be a DOM element, and we give it the reference. So we are now, and we can test this to see if this is working. We can test that, and this drop function also accepts an item as an argument, this callback. So we can console that log that item to see if this is working. So now let's open the terminal, and here we can see that if we drop that, nothing is happening. No, sorry. So if we drop that piece, you can see that we're having that item and with the ID that we gave them. So in this case is the type piece, and the ID is the one that we gave them. So in this case we have a white knight. So this is working, but here is where we want to execute the move, and for doing that we're going to declare a method that's going to be called move. So, and this is in the game.js file, and what this move is going to do is going to take two parameters. It's going to have from and to, and these are going to be the positions that we are moving from this square to this square, for example. And what we are going to accept here is going to be chess notation. So is different of the x and y that we have. In the x and y we only have numbers. So what we want to provide here is a chess position notation, and the way it works is that we have for each row we have, for example, this is the row 1, this is the row 2, this is the row 3, but each column has a letter. For example, this is A, B, C, D, E. So in this case, for example, if I move this, it will be from E2 to E4. So this will be what we need here, from 2. And we can take that information from the board, and we can add another math function that is going to say get position, and this also takes an index as a parameter. We're going to have the x and y, and we can say that this is going to return, and the x is going to remain the same, I think. Yep. The y, actually the y needs to be added 1 because we start from 0, and there's no 0 in chess for the positions. So we first need to know which letter we are in, and we can say, for example, letter equals, and this is going to be really easy. We are just going to have an array that has all the letters that we have for chess. So we have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. We have that A, B, C, D, E, A, H, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and H. So we have the 8 letters, and the one that we want is the one where X so we're accessing the index from X, and in this case we can use the index even though it can be 0, because this is also an array. So we have, that's how we know the letter. So we're picking from this array of letters, we're picking the one that have this position, and then we can return a template string that has the letter and also has the number of the row that we have here, the Y, and here we can just say, and this is going to be Y plus 1, and here we need to add 1 because Y can be 0, so these are indexes, so that's why we need to add 1. Once we have that, we are going to pass this position. We are going to pass this position here as a parameter, as a prop to this component, and so this is going to be get position, and we pass the index. So we now have the position, and if we go to the board square, we can say import from the game, from our game, we are going to import the move function, and these move functions, we can read the position here for each square, and we have the to, because the drop sum is the to, but we need the from. So how we can get the from? So we can use for that the ID that we are using in each piece. So each piece has his own ID. So what we can do is we are going to also pass the position to the piece. So we are passing the position to the piece component. Here we are going to read that position, and we are going in the ID, we are going to add that position in the string. So we can say position, we add an underscore, and there we have the position, the type, and the color as an ID. Once we have that, if we go back to the board square component, we can read that position from this drop callback. So we can say that the position, and we can say that from the item.id, if we split, so we are going to use the split method, and we're going to split but by the underscore. So if you go here, you can see that we are separating every one of these variables with an underscore. So we are going to split that, and as a result we are going to have the from position. The first item of this array is going to be the from positions. We also have the type and the color, but that we are not going to use. We are going to use only the from position, and then we can say move from position, and the to is going to be the current position of this drop zone. So, and the to is going to be the position, the current position of this drop zone. So we have the from and the to, and now we actually need to do something with this method. So for now, let's just console that log to see if we are getting the correct value. So we should have, if we move from here to here, we should have E2 to E4. So let's see if that's working. And there you can see that we have E2, E4. So that's working. And now that we have that, what we are going to do is going to say yes, that move, and here we can pass an object that says from, that has this from and to properties. So this is from the chess library that we are using. They have this method that we can use, and what this is going to do is going to update this chess instance that we have. It's going to update this chess instance, but it's only going to do that if this method is legal, because we can try to do some illegal move. So we can say legal move equals chess move, and if this is legal, it's going to return the move. Otherwise, it's going to return null. So we can say if this is a legal move of the return of this method, then what we are going to do is we have our game subject, and what we are going to do is going to game subject that next. So because this is an observable from Rxjs, we because this is a subject, actually we can change a string and a new value. So we use this next method, and we are going to have here is a new board that's going to be the chess.board. So this is going to update the current game subject, and as you remember, if we go to the board, to the app component, we are listening to those changes. So every time the game changes, it's going to update the board, and then it's going to update our React state. And as you can see, is updating that. So we now can see that this piece moved from here to here because we are updating that state. And you can see that we can move this from both sides. So, and also if I try to make an illegal move, for example, I try to move the king from here to here, is not going to work because that's an illegal move. So at this point, our chess game is functional, but we have a couple of edge cases that we are not taking in consideration for movement. So I added this string here as the name is promotion, and feel free to pause the video and copy this if you also want to follow this behavior. Otherwise, you can just follow the video. But this is what's called a FEN notation for chess, and this is actually a position in the board, and I'm passing this as an argument to this chess structure, and this position is for, well, this is a really dumb position, but let's say we're in this position and we want to promote this pawn. So our move function is not going to work, because for making a promotion we need another parameter here. We need another parameter here in this move. And that's the piece that we want to promote, and that's why it's not working. So we need a way to detect that we're about to make a promotion. So we're going to do a couple of things here. The first one is that we are going to add another method that's going to be called update game, and this is going to be a local method. We are not going to export this one, and here we are going to have a new variable that's going to be the new game, and the new game is going to have this board property. So in the future we are going to have more properties, but let's keep it like that. So, and after that we are going to update the subject with the next function, and here we are going to pass the new game. So I'm doing this because I don't want to need to handle every single property in every function. So here what we are going to do is only to call this update game function that's going to do all the work for us. Another function that I want to add here is that it's going to be an init function. So init game function, and here this function was going to do for now is only going to init game is for function init game is only going to update the game, and what's going to do is it's going to populate this for the first time. So you can see that everything broke because we don't have anything here. So what we need to do is in our app.js file, we're going to import this function, and before doing this in the use effect, we are going to init that game. So now it works again. So we have that there. And what we are going to do now is we're going to have another function that's going to be called handle move. And this is going to also have a from and a to. And here is where we are going to call this move function, but it's going to have other things. So if we go back to the board squared, what we're not going to call directly the move function, but the handle move function is instead. So we need to save this. Yep. And now what this function is going to do is going to check if we are going to have a promotion. So how we can do that? So look, it's really nice that we have some methods from the chess library that we can use to detect all the possible movements that we have. So for example, so the way we can see that is by calling the chess that moves. So here we will have an array with all the moves that we have, and we are going to add this verbose true because by default we only have like the strings of the movements. We want like an array of all the movements, and we can console.log those moves to see what we have there, and then we can call our move function as before. So if we move, we can see that we have all the possible moves that we can have. And actually let's console that table this so we have a better view of all the moves. So let's say move here, and you can see that here we have all the legal moves that we can achieve. So, and you can see that all of these are from the white player, and here we have some properties like the color for each object, and what we want is only to know if there are some promotions that can be achieved. So we can say, for example, promotions equals chess that moves, and here we're going to filter to only have the ones that have promotion. So we can say we're going to filter for each move. We only want the ones that has a promotion. And here I'm going to console.log that. So if I move again, you can see that we only have the promotions. And what we want to detect is if the current move that they are trying to achieve to execute corresponds to any of these promotions, because they can also make a different move. But what we want to detect is if the move that the user is trying to achieve is one from the promotions. So we can do the following. So we can say if promotions that some promotions. So the sum method is a method that we can use to know if at least one of the items of this array satisfies any condition. So the condition that we are going, this method receives a callback for each item. Each item would be a promotion, and the condition that we want to meet is, and you can see here that we have a from and a to for each of these possible promotions. So what we want to know is that if and I'm going to use a trick here to make this look as a string, so it's easy to compare. So I will say if the promotion that from column promotion that to is the same, and I'm doing this as a string, so it's easier to compare, so we can easily compare two strings. If the promotion from column promotion to is equals at these ones from here, so I'm going to copy this. So here we only use the from and a to from this handled move. If this is true, we can just say for now console.log it is the user is going to promote. So for example, if we move here, we can see that we don't have that statement, that console.log, because the user made another movement. This one is an illegal move. This one is valid. But if we move from here to here, you can say the user is going to promote, because we detect that the user is trying to make this promotion. So we now know that, but we can say, and here we are going to create a new variable that's going to be this pending promotion, because we are not going to promote right away. Why we cannot promote right away? Because the user can select different pieces. So in chess, when you move a pawn and you're about to promote that pawn, you can decide which piece you want to choose. So it can be a rook, it can be a knight, a bishop, or a queen. So you need to first choose the piece that you want. That's why we cannot make the move right away. So we're going to set the game like in a pending state, and first we're going to have this pending promotion object, and this one's going to be, we're going to store the from and the to from this handled movement, and we are also going to store the color, because we want to know which user is going to, which player is going to make the promotion. And we can do this by just looking at the promotions array, taking the first item. It doesn't matter, because all of the items are going to have the same color, because it is only one is going to have the turn to do that. And we can extract the color. As you can see, we have a color property here. So we are adding that, and now what we are going to do here is we are not going to make a move. We're going to update the game. But how we are going to update the game? This update game can take an optional parameter that's going to be the pending promotion. So this is optional, and we can add this here, pending promotion, and it's going to be another property in our game object. So here we are going to pass the pending promotion. So we are passing this pending promotion to this method, and now that we have that, we can do say the following. We can take from the game subject that we for this Rxjs observables, we have this get value, so this will give you the value once, so we don't have to subscribe to any change. And here we are going to read this property here, pending promotion, and we can say if the user does not have any pending promotion, then we are going to make the move. So only in that case, and that's how we can put the game in hold until the user makes the promotion. So if it moves, it's not going to, the game is going to be in a state that we cannot move any other piece, because now is in this state of having a pending promotion. And now let's move on how we can actually make this promotion. So how we can know when this promotion is about to happen? So because we're updating this observable, this object, we can listen to this change in the component that we care. So what's the component? And what we want to do is we're going to render in the promotion square, we're going to render a different component if this is going to happen. So where we are rendering all the squares is in the board squared component, and here we are going to also listen to that observable from our game. We are going to import the game subject, and we are also going to use the use effect hook again. And here what we're going to do is we're going to, in the use effect function, and when this renders, we are going to declare again a new variable that's going to have our subscription to the game subject, and here we're going to subscribe for the game. And we're also going to have some local state. So the state that we care is going to be called promotion. So here I can say const equals use state. It's going to have an initial value of null, and here we have promotion and set promotion. So this is the state that we're going to have in this component, and this is going to be updated. Here I can deconstruct this game object, and I can have the pending promotion. So remember that this subject has this pending promotion object that we can deconstruct here in this subscription, and we can say if, well, we can just write it here directly. We can say pending promotion, and so we are making sure that this is true, and pending promotion that, and remember that our promotion object, if we go back here, our promotion object has this from and to property. So we can say if so what we need to check is for the destination. So the pending in the pending promotion, the destination is called to. We are going to check the to property, and if the destination equals the position, so the current position of this square position, we are going to use again a ternary operator. If all of this is true, we are going to set the promotion of this component to the pending promotion object. Otherwise, we're going to set promotion to null. So this is the logic that we are using here to know when this square is going to when in this square is going to have a promotion. And again, we can return a function that's going to unsubscribe once this component is not longer being rendered. So we are going to subscribe that unsubscribe. We have this method in our observable. So now we are updating this promotion, and what we can now do is really simple. So now we can add a promote.jsx file. This is going to be another component, React functional component, and what we are going to do is we're going to import that component from promote, and we can say the following. So we are doing right now we are doing some checks here, but we're going to do the following. So we can say if and it's going to be a ternary operator. So if we have a promotion, we are going to render or promote component. Otherwise, if we have a piece, so this is the check that we have before, we are going to render that piece, and otherwise we're going to render null. So this is the logic that we have. So if in this square is going to happen a promotion, we are going to render that. Otherwise, we just render the regular piece, and if it's not a piece there, we just render the square. So for example, if I add some placeholder in this, like I don't know, promotion, if we move this here, we should see that there. So you can see that it rendered a different thing. Okay, now that we have that, let's actually do the promotion. So I'm going to pass the promotion here as a parameter. So this is the pending promotion, and here I can read from that promotion, and here I'm going to read. So this promotion has a from, a to, and also a color. So later I'm going to use these properties, and here I'm going to start writing our UI. So the UI is going to be really simple. It's just going to be 4 squares with every piece so that we can promote. So let's first declare which pieces we can promote. So we can say promotion pieces equals, and this is going to have, it's going to be a rook, a knight, a bishop, or a queen. So these are all the options that we can have to make a promotion. And here we can start by rendering. So we are going to add give this the class name, and we are going to use the same class as the board. So it's like a mini board that we have here, and for each promotion pieces we're going to map this into new UI. So we can say, we can read the piece and the index from the piece, and here we are going to render a div that is going to have every piece for now, and this div also need it's a key, and the key is going to be this index. So we should be able to see all the pieces that we can promote. So this has to be like that, and we have those pieces. And well, let's give it this a class. The class is going to be promote square, and this is going to be kind of similar of our other class, but this one is going to have, so we have this square, and our promote square is going to have a width of 50% because it's going only to have 2 columns. So we are going to give it a width and a height of 50%. So in that way, you can see that we have the pieces like that, and for each square we are going to have another div that's going to have the class. We cannot use the piece component because the piece component has some other things going on, like the drag functionality and all of that. We could enhance that component, but maybe it's too overkill, so we are just going to write the markup here, and the class here is going to be our current piece container. We already have this class here, and here we are going to have an image. So this is going to be the image for each piece. We already have those images, and we are going to use require here with a template string. The path is going to be assets, and here we can insert a variable. So the piece that we need is already here for the piece, and we also need the color. The color we have here in the promotion. That's why we needed that color property, and this is that PNG. So we have that, but we also need another class here, and the class is going to be piece. It's the exact same class that we used before, and you can see that we are now having all these options to choose from. So another thing that we can add is that maybe we want to have like is not the same color, so we have like some subdivision of colors, and for that we can use our square component. And we can wrap this piece container with the square. We can wrap this right like this, and here we can give it, we can pass the black property. For knowing that, we can just read the index and say the index, the module of the index by 3 equals 0, then it's going to be black, and now you can see that we have this mini board there. Okay, and another thing that I want to add is that maybe here I can have another class so it does not have this drag cursor. So let me go back to here, and I can say, I don't know, cursor pointer. I can say cursor. So this is only for having this So we now have this pointer instead of a drag, so the user knows that they have to click to to make something happen. So how we actually do the promotion, and that's going to be pretty simple. We are just going to import, and here we are going to use directly the move method from our game. So we're going to import. For doing that, we're just going to import the move method from our game utility. So here we are going to call directly the move method, and remember that this move method only has a from and a to, so we can add a third optional parameter that's going to be called promotion, and we can say something like this. For example, let temp move equals from an object that has from and to, and we can say if we have a promotion, then we can add another property to this object that's going to be called promotion, and this equals the promotion that we have here. And now we can just do this move right here. So that's how we can make the move with a promotion. And now we need to use this method here. So we can just say on click, and once the user clicks in the piece container, we're going to invoke this move method. The from we already have here, the to we also have here, and the promotion is just going to be the one that they click, so this p from here, and that should take care of making the promotion. So now let's test, and we can select a queen, and you can see that now we did the promotion and the game can continue. So now the promotion is working, but there are a couple of situations that we are not handling. For example, I added these positions, these board positions. So I am loading now this checkmate position, and if we go back here, you can see that indeed the user is in checkmate, and we can no longer do any moves because there are no legal moves. But maybe we want to show some visual representation of that to the user, and we also have other states like stalemate. For example, if I change this to stalemate, and this is where not the other user cannot make any move, so it's a draw, and maybe we want to see that. And also we need a way to restart the game so we can start over. So that's why what we're going to be adding. So in the update game function, we're going to have this is game over variable, and to know if the game is over is pretty easy with the library that we have. We just call the in-game, no, we call the game underscore over function, and this is going to return true or false if the game is over. And here we can add this to our game state, our game observable. And now we know that the game is over, but we want to know why. We want to know what's the result. So we're going to say if it's game over. So if this is true, we're going to have a function here that's going to return the result of the game, and we are going to call that function here. Otherwise, we are going to return null in this property. So we have the result, and here we can add some if statements to know what's the result of the game. So we can say if chess that, and here we have some methods that says, for example, in checkmate. So we know if the game is in checkmate, we are going to first know what is the winner. So we can do that by checking at the current turn. So we have this turn method that we can, and it can be black or white. So if the turn is white, so in that case it means that it won the black player, and otherwise is the white player. So that's how we know. So we know the winner, but now we need to return the result, and the result is just going to be a string. It's going to be checkmate, and winner is, and here we can pass the winner. So that's for checkmate, but we also can have a draw. So we can say if chess, else if chess in draw. So here we can have a couple of reasons for a draw. So the default is going to be the 50 rules, 50 moves rule. So this rule is when there's 50 movements without any major piece. For example, if you're only moving the king, both players, then it is a draw. And well, I'm not so sure about that. Well, something like that. And that's the default reason for why we are in a draw. But we can also have a stalemate. So in stalemate, so a stalemate is when the black cannot, any of the player cannot have any good movement. So it's like he's trapped, and because of that, that's a draw. So we can say reason equals stalemate in that case. So else if chess that, and here we have another rule. When we have a repetition of a game, of a movement for certain amount of times, the game is also a draw. So the method is called in threefold repetition. In that case, the reason equals repetition. Else, and the last reason is going to be if there's no enough material. So for example, if all the pieces were removed and only the kings are there, so that's another reason what you have a draw in chess. So we have the in chess insufficient insufficient material. And this is also a method. There's a typo here, insufficient. And if that's the case, the reason equals insufficient material. We have a syntax error here, and also here. Yep. Okay, so that's we're deciding which one is the reason, but we actually need to return the reason, the result. So we are going just to return draw, and here we can just pass the reason. And for anything else, we're just going to return another string. There's another error here. Okay, that's good. So, and this is not, this is winner, like this. And we are going to return if no reason. So just like a fallback. And there we have all the possible results. So now we need to display that in the UI. Okay, another issue here. This is not like this is just one word, checkmate, and now it should work. So now we need to display this to the user. So if we go to the app.js file, we are going to have two more states. So one is going to be is game over, set is game over. We're going to use the state here, and we're also going to have the result of the game state, set result, and this is going to be, we're going to use the state here, and here we can just set these properties from our game object. So game that is game over, and this needs to be have these brackets, and here we can say set result, and the result that we have from the game that result. So we are setting the state, but now we need to show that to the user, and here we can just say that if it's game over, and this is going to return true or false. Here we are going to render an h2 tag. This needs to be parentheses, and here we can just say game over. Here we are going to have a spam button that's going to have an spam property that's going to say new game. So in that way they can start a new game. I'm going to nest this inside the h2 tag, and now we should be able to see this. So it's looking pretty bad. So let's add some styling. I'm going to add a class name of vertical text, and here this also is going to have a class of vertical text. Now let's go to the CSS file, and here I'm going to add those classes. So let's go to the end, and here I can say vertical text, and we can say text orientation is going to be upright. So this is going to because we don't want to have this like this, we are going to display this vertically. And here we can say writing mode vertical from the left. We are going to also change the font family. It's going to be sans. It's going to use the sans serif font from that we have available. Let's give it some padding of 10 pixels, and then we are going to have the color of white. So we now have this, but the button looks pretty bad. So let's add some styling for that. I can just access the button like this, and here I'm going to give it first a margin top of 20 pixels. It's going to have a cursor pointer. It's going to have a background of RGB 63, and is also going to have a border of 2 pixels solid white, maybe, I don't know, and a border radius of 10 pixels. So now it looks way better. And if we click here, we should be able to restart the game. So we have that, but we also need to show the result. So I'm going to add this logic if we have a result. So at the beginning is undefined. This is going to be false, and then when we have the result, we're just going to display a p tag that's going to have the result. And here we just can give it the class of vertical text. And now we have the result here, so we know that's a draw because it's a stalemate. So we have that, but now we need to actually make this work. So we can just add another method in the game file that we are going to have export function reset game. And it's going to be, we're going to take the chess instance, and we have a method here that's called reset board or reset. It's called it's just chess.reset, and then we can just call our update method. And that's going to take care of updating the state. So if I click here, nothing happens, and that's because we are not using this function anywhere. So let me import that reset game, and I'm just going to add an on-click event. We have a callback. Well, we just can call directly this here, and now the game is reset. So if we click here, the board is clean and we can start playing as before. Now let's add the I want to be able to flip the board, so when we make a move, we flip the board so we have the view of the other player. So first I'm going to remove all of this. I don't longer need this. And if I go to the board square, here is where I can make that happen. So how we're going to do this is, well, let me go back to the game, and here we first need to detect which one is the turn. So I can just declare a new property in the game object, and again we're going to use our library that we have this turn method, and this is going to return either white or black depending of which one is the turn. So we have that, and then we can listen to that property. We can just declare a new state that's going to be the turn, and set turn, and here we can use an empty state, and then we can set the turn with the game that turn. We can pass this to the board as a property, and in the board is where we can make this happen. Just before moving on, in the board, the square component, there's a warning here, and that's because we need to, in the dependence of this effect hook, we need to listen to the position property. So we need to pass this here, and now we don't have that warning. And here in the board, we're going to read the turn, and we're going to use another hook, another use effect hook, and here we're going to have a local state. So we are also going to have use state, and we can say const cur board set cur board equals use effect, and the initial value is going to be an empty array, and then we can use our effect function here, and we can so here, depending of the turn, so we are going to have set current board method, and depending of the turns, if the turn is from the white, so like this, we can read the turn. If that's the case, we are going to set the board that flat with the flat method. Otherwise, we're going to set the board also with the flat method, but here we can also use the reverse method, and this is going to take our array and flip the array to the other way. So now it looks like in the other way for the other player. So we are setting that, and here we need to have the board and the turn as dependence of this effect. of this effect, but one thing here is that this is wrong. We need to use the state here and not use effect, so this needs to be use state. So we have the current board, and here instead of reading from the board itself, we are going to read from the current board. So now you can see that everything changed to the other side, but here we have an issue, and that's that the positions are now incorrect because we're in the other side. So we need to change this X and Y position. So we can do this as we can, as before, check if the turn equals white. We have this way of getting the X position. Otherwise we're going to have math.abs, and this is going to be this operation minus 7. So that's we're reversing the X position, just subtracting this, and here we can do the same thing, but we can just, in this case, we can just use this function because in here we are already subtracting the 7. So here we can just take the floor value of the index divided by 8, and in that way we have the correct X and Y values. So if we go back here, now this should work, and you can see that indeed it does. The final thing that we need is that we, as you remember, we need the feature to persist the board. So right now, if we refresh the screen, all the position is gone. So we can do that pretty easy in here. So what we are going to do is every time we update the game, we are also going to use the local storage to set an item. The item is going to be saved game, and the value is going to be this new game. It's going to be the chess that fence. So this gives us a string that has the current position in a fan format. So it's a format that is the position of the board in a string. Basically, that is just a string that has the game, and in the init game we are going to have this saved game variable that we can read from the local storage. And saved game, we can read that from the local storage, and this is not set item, is get item, and we can save if this value is not falsy, we can use our chess instance and then load that saved game. So that's how we can persist the game in the local storage. So now let's test if that's working. And now if we refresh, you can see that the game is still there because we are loading that. So that's it, guys. I hope you like this video. If you like it, please like, share and subscribe so it can reach to more people. And thank you for watching. I will see you in the next time.